Thinking about starting IFS therapy but feeling overwhelmed by the process? IFS Telehealth Collective makes it easy. They match you with a skilled, compassionate IFS therapist based on your unique preferences, values, and priorities. IFS Telehealth Collective therapists help you reconnect with your true self, befriend your extreme and reactive parts, and heal the burdens underneath, inviting more ease and balance. If you're in California, New York, Massachusetts, Florida, or Oregon, visit ifstherapyonline.com to schedule a free confidential consultation with a client care coordinator today. Welcome to Season 6 of the One Inside an Internal Family Systems podcast. I'm Tammy Sollenberger, author of The One Inside 30 Days to Your Authentic Self. This podcast is for anyone curious about their inner world and who have a desire to connect to that authentic self. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I am so excited about this episode with Gabby Bernstein. Gabby has been a friend to me and a friend to the podcast. This is her second time on the podcast. And when she told me that she wrote a new book about IFS, so focused on IFS, I was thrilled. And I was even more thrilled when I got it and read it. And it's just great. I cannot wait for you to get it. I think it's going to make a huge difference just getting IFS out there, out of the therapy room, out of even the IFS community, into the streets. And so I'm super excited about that. The other really cool thing I want to tell you about, if you don't know, is we have the One Inside merchandise now. And so we've just started with a couple of things, and we're really excited just as a way for you to support the podcast and also for you to remember that one inside of you who is calm, connected, curious, compassionate, and joy. Gabby Bernstein is a level 2 trained IFS practitioner and a #1 New York Times bestselling author who has written 10 books. She has been featured on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday. New York Times identified Gabby as a role model for new generation of spiritual seekers. She has a podcast, she has an app, she has a million things. But most importantly, and what we're super excited to do today is talk about her new book called Self-Help. And that self is a great play on words because Gabby loves IFS. And so welcome, Gabby. And I'm super excited to talk about this book.
Well, I'm really honored to talk about it with you because actually, I think you're the only person in the IFS community so far that I'm talking about this book with, other than, Dick being my friend and talking to him about it daily, right? But to publicly talk about it in the IFS space, it's you. So thank you for being the portal for this in this world. And
Thanks.
because of course I have a part that's like, I'm not a therapist. That part was really strong when I was in the training. And then the beauty of not being a therapist is it's allowed me to write with confidence a self-help book that's informed by IFS.
Yeah.
And with Dick's blessing.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that's amazing is what he writes, like the prologue or introduction that he writes for you is just like, it's so glowing. I can tell you guys have such a nice relationship. And I could tell when I read the book, like this is the book that we need in the IFS community, because I could give this book to my friends who are lost in mom world, which is why I started my podcast to begin with and why I wrote my book. It was like, we have to touch the people that aren't going to pick up an IFS book. Like that doesn't, right. They're not going to get it. Not that they're not going to get it, but their lives are busy and they're not doing any like other types of self-help, like a small s self-help. They're not doing anything because they're running around leading crazy busy lives. And so I was like, this is a book that I could give to so many people.
Yeah. And I hope it's also a portal for people or a gateway into IFS. All throughout the book, I'm like, don't touch exiles. If it gets there, you're going to go further with IFS. And so I guarantee that we're going to need more IFS therapists in the world, and that there's going to be more and more people raising their hands saying, ooh, I just had an experience and a taste of this. I want to go deeper. And that's my hope for the model.
Yeah, I love it. And I feel like that's what it feels like, because so in the book Self-Help, you talk about working with managers. And so let's talk a little bit about that, about why that was important to just kind of focus on the manager part.
Right. Well, I am going to be reaching a demographic of people who may never have heard of IFS before, probably the majority of my readers, or it's been in the zeitgeist and super in the realm of the world at this time. So maybe they've heard about it, but they don't know what it is. And so I definitely am not trying to go to exiles in a book, especially ever, really, because I'm not a therapist and that's not my dharma. But my work is to help people have a glimmer of self and to have some awareness of their protectors.
Yeah.
And with that glimmer of self coming through, their protectors will naturally feel a little bit less extreme. And so that's the goal of this book, is to introduce people to a practice that has the power to give them a different way of relating to their parts. And the reason I chose managers, of course, is that it's not an unsafe way for you to titrate in and to gently touch into the extreme patterns and behaviors that you really on a day-to-day basis are just struggling with.
Right.
And many of these people have no idea that there's exiles there. They may not have ever had therapy. They may just be on a spiritual path, or maybe in a self-help realm, or maybe they've had decades of therapy but still haven't touched into an exile. And it's not in this instance, it's not the goal. The goal is to just recognize that these extreme patterns and behaviors are not bad. They're just parts of you that are protecting you.
This is what came up for me. I saw something that you sent out and I thought, okay, let's talk about manifesting, because in IFS, we don't talk about manifesting. That's not a word that we use. I don't think I've ever heard that word in IFS communities, but that is a word that is a Gabby word for sure. And so when we talk about manifesting, how does manifesting and IFS fit together?
Well, actually, that's really just a gateway word, right? Because people don't want to do self-help, but they want to manifest. And so the real manifesting flex, the real spiritual experience of manifesting is healing the parts, is honoring, respecting, nurturing, and compassionately connecting to your parts. Because when your parts begin to settle and you start to adjust your inner system and your belief systems begin to change, then your whole energetic system begins to change.
Mm,
The energetic shift sets in, you become a super attractor, is what I call it, or you really begin to manifest effortlessly, because we manifest what we believe. And so
mm.
through IFS, or through the self-help practice of IFS, you will begin to adjust and heal your belief systems. And as those belief systems become unburdened and you start to feel more free inside, everything around you becomes more effortless and free. And so that's the secret here.
Like, let's say, I think you wrote 8 books because your last book had a little bit of IFS in it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was
So,
my yeah. Mhm.
yeah, what are you going to say about that?
Well, that was my ninth book, and it was called Happy Days. And Happy Days was the guided path from trauma to profound freedom and inner peace. And in that book, I shared the therapies and spiritual practices, but particularly the therapies that really helped me with my trauma recovery. And there was a whole chapter on IFS. And this isn't the first time that this has happened, but often I've had the experience of writing a book, and one of the chapters I'm writing, and then I'm like, holy shit, that's a whole book. And
Oh,
so
wow. Okay.
it became clear to me that the next book I would write, also, when I finished that book, I went and did the level 1 and 2 training. And then it became clear to me that in the service of Dick and his mission, and in service of IFS, and just by the sheer experience of the life transformation I've had from the model, it became clear to me that I was my next step to democratize this model and to carry the message in a way that would be simple and easy for folks to follow, and hopefully open the door for them to go deeper.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. So, what did IFS bring that you felt like the first books didn't have?
Let me deal with this cat. Here we go. Come on, sit with me. If you're going to make so much noise, you have to stay with. Look how
Oh,
pretty. Okay,
so
baby. You can purr.
pretty.
Everyone can listen to the purring in the background while we talk, because that's like such a soothing energy and sound too.
Yeah, sounds great.
You're just going to have the purring in the background. Um, what did IFS bring to this book? Well, I mean, all of my other books, Happy Days is a little bit of an outlier, but all of my other books are spiritual books. They're based on helping people crack open to a spiritual connection of their own understanding, and they're based on my spiritual faith, and really not specifically me saying this is what spirit means, but this is what spirit means to me, and here's my guidance on how to crack you open to that relationship for yourself and define what it is for you.
Mm,
And I think the biggest thing here is that this is the first time I'm teaching someone else's work. in my own way, right? Always
Yeah.
in my own way. That's a big responsibility.
Mm,
That a lot of parts came up for me and really wanting to do right by Dick and make sure that I and the community, not just Dick, but all of you, right? You
mm,
and all of the devoted therapists who have devoted their lives to this mission. And and it was really less about me. This is about taking this model that I personally believe is the secret sauce, right? Like I believe it's the answer. I believe it's and I know you do too. You know, I've had such an extraordinary experience of just unburdening, an experience of freedom, an experience of access to self, particularly in the last month, actually, Tammy, even in the last month, through diving deeper with new IFS therapy with my couples and my private with therapists that you know that are now treating me. And just seeing the just like skyrocket of the experience of self come through that I am a raconteur, I am a mouthpiece, I have a megaphone, and I can't hide the gifts that are presented to me. And so this is my mission is to just shout from the rooftops, hey, there's a way to relate to yourself that is far different than the way that we are. There's a practice that works. This is a simplified version of IFS. It's not IFS, it's just a self help tool that's informed by IFS. And if you get curious about it and it's feeling good for you, go learn more or just
mm.
do this or just do
Yeah.
this because this could be whatever you need to.
Yeah, 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 right. I love that because right, this, and I've said that before when I do like consultation with therapists that like just unblending feels so good. So just unblending from me and my manager, just unblending that there's a difference between me, there's a difference between the self and this part of me that's working its butt off for me, that it gives there's so much relief. And so that's what you're giving people with your book is you're teaching them how to give themselves relief.
That's right. That's right. And I'm relying on self qualities to be the points of focus as you check in.
Mm,
So even if it's a self-like quality, we know the power that that has, right?
yeah.
We when we're reading a self-help book, we're not going to all of a sudden have full-blown access to self, but we might be able to have enough awareness and desire and curiosity to lean into these self-like qualities in the four steps that are here to slowly offer us a glimmer of that self energy and that minor moment of relief or that fleeting encounter with courage or that brief spontaneous experience of calmness. That's enough to get somebody to be a little bit more curious, and curiosity is contagious and has momentum, and it'll make them come back for more. And that's the process. That's the simplicity of it.
I love it. When I love this idea of just really, I think you said that we all somewhere I read that this our own inner healer, that this is the self is our own inner healer. And so if I'm reading your book and I'm doing the exercises in your book and I begin to unblend for my parts and I feel that glimpse of my own inner healer, that might be the first time I've ever felt that before.
Very likely the first time that these readers will ever feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that feeling alone, even if it happens once this year, you know, while somebody's that's enough to give you a sense of proof, right? Maybe even
Yeah.
spiritual proof or inner proof that there's safety inside.
Yeah. There's something really powerful when we think about, like, I've been saying a lot of like more of me, more of me. When there's more of me, it doesn't matter if I'm having to go deal with someone that's really hard, or I'm going to have to go have this conversation, or whatever's happening. If there's more of me here, I can be with my parts and we're going to be okay. There's more of me here. So it's not like I have to have someone else next to me, or I have to have this tool, or I have to have something or sort of a safety blanket around me, that the more of me is that safety blanket, is that spiritual healer, maybe. We'll be right back to my conversation with Gabby Bernstein. This episode is sponsored by the Pisgah Coaching Institute, founded by IFS trained master coach Brian Jadon, who has been a pioneer in the integration of IFS and coaching for more than 2 decades. Brian and his faculty teach a blended methodology for clarifying and living into a vision. Brian has one spot still available for his 2025 year-long coaching training. To learn more, go to pisgacoaching.com, PISGAH coaching.com.
I love that so much because, right now I'm in like a up leveling of my life emotionally. And I'm, as you heal parts, what I believe starts to happen is the burden parts can also act out like tyrants because they're still there and they still hold on a little tightly to their role.
Yeah.
And so I'm noticing that as I am working through these adjustments of my patterns, the burdens and the young parts are just kind of sporadically showing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's beautiful is I'll let them blast out, and then I'll settle with this check-in of my process that I'm using and all the other self tool help and all the IFS tools I have, and I'll come back to self. And then I'll speak for the part later and I'll say, yep. And I'm talking to my chief of staff who's witnessing me in and out of this like tight, just such extreme moments and then coming back into self. And I'm saying a lot of parts are here and they're all working things out. And I just wanted to be mindful that I'm going to be in self and I'm going to be in parts. I'm going to come back and I'm going to be in self. And I'm just going to keep doing my best to expand self. And she's able to say, yep, I see your extreme parts are here, but I also see how much self you're accessing. And that to me is where I'm at today.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I
So
love
more
that.
of me is here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm
Right.
not blended. I'm not blended. I might be choosing actually to let the part out in the moment because it's just a discharge that part might need in that moment because I don't want to push it down.
I love that. I love that I can choose to be blended with a part because it needs the discharge, it needs that release. And then purposely blending, which we know this in IFS world, when we purposely blend, it actually causes an unblend, right? If I purposely blend with a part of me that's really pissed off and I really embody it, it actually makes me smile a little bit because I'll be like, Tammy is such a stupid idiot and and then I could be like, okay, guy, like I hear you, buddy. And it really helps me unblend when I let it really just take over and embody me.
You actually just gave me words for what I didn't realize was happening. I didn't know that was a thing. But yes, I think, purposely blending for a discharge that will actually, and listen, I don't want to live in that way, but in this moment, it's helping me.
Yeah.
And I'm letting the little girl scream. Yesterday, I did this because she's fed up with the old pattern. She's fed up with certain situations that she's in and some of the ways that she's been treated. And she's losing her shit. And then in the unblend of that, very quickly, she's speaking for what she needs.
Amazing. And that's not how we normally handle our parts, right? We either don't know about parts, and so I have a part speaking of your little girl, or speaking of like my anger, I have parts that just push my anger away. I exile my anger, and so anger is never allowed, and so that actually ends up causing more problems, or old patterns just continue. Nothing, I don't manifest anything because the anger, there's so much energy keeping that anger exiled.
I did the 4-step self-help check-in that I'll teach you guys as a result. I did that this morning, right? So I have 6 hours of podcast recording today. Today is a day in America as we record this. It's pretty charged for a little bit less than half of the country. And it's a lot going on. I was having tech issues before my first thing. I had to record something earlier for my team, but I didn't have the scripts in front of me and I was irate about that. And then my audio wasn't working. I was just my little part is a young part that believes that if I don't do it, nobody else will. So that was really reinforced this morning. And in my first interview, it was 15 minutes behind because the audio wasn't working. And I just was like really blood boiling. My husband's there trying to fix the audio and I'm fucking losing my shit. And so I muted the Zoom with the woman and I turned off the video and I walked away and I did this 4-step check-in process, which I don't have access to therapy in this moment, but I have access to self. And so I chose to check in, which is the first step. I was like, okay, Gabby, you could stay checked out all day, or you could choose to check in right now. And so let's check in. And so I chose to check in, focusing my attention inward. That choice, as Jean says, is sort of the ninth C, that choice to choose to turn our attention inward. So I had buy-in from the part. Let's go there. And then I offered the part curiosity, as we love to do in IFS, but this is just the simplicity of this step, is just checking in. Where is it in my body? It's in my jaw is clenched. And for me, I went right to the somatic experience of the tension in my jaw and the fists going like this and the rage and the heat in my face. And I just kept hearing, fuck everybody. No one's doing it, blah, blah, blah. And I let her speak up and she got so outraged and she was screaming in the other room. And then I asked her the third step, which is compassionate connection. I asked her what she needed, which is the most beautiful part of IFS. It's just like, what do you need? And she just said, I need to let this out. Like, I just need to be mad right now. And I need to be clear. And then I did the fourth step, which is to check for C's. And I just saw that there was clarity. And I saw compassion coming through, and I felt calmness because she had that discharge that she needed. And I got back on with the first interview of the 6 that were ahead. And I looked at the interviewer, who's someone I really respected and admired. I was already kind of embarrassed about her noticing slightly that I was outraged. And I looked at her and I said, I would just like to be clear with you that this is just, that I'm having a bit of a personal dilemma. It's a charged day in America, but I'm also just really have a part of me that's activated right now because the tech and because I just didn't feel supported this morning. And I just want to be clear that the process we're going to talk about today is like what I just used on myself. And it just feels good to connect with you with honesty and clarity. And so there was connection, there was clarity, there was compassion for myself. Then there was creativity emerging because I was able to be like, all right, cool. Well, we have another hour together and I think you're amazing. So let's just actually go into this and not worry about what's happening in America and just drive into what's joyful for us, which is this creative conversation we're about to have, and deepen the connection. And then more and more self emerged and we left and we were best friends.
Love that. Yeah.
And here I
Beautiful.
am now with you 3 hours later into my third interview, totally supercharged,
Yeah.
right? And connected to you.
And supercharged in a different way.
Supercharged with self.
Yes, yes, yes. And all the C's. So I love that the 4 check-in process all have C's. So it's just a really good way of us remembering what it is for that in the moment. Like, I need more of me here. I'm triggered. So I'm activated. Something's going on and I need to do something. I need to help myself in some way. I need healing right now. And here's a way that I can do that for myself, which probably did not take very long.
Well, no, at this stage, it takes seconds.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty, is that the more we check in, the more self we trust in. Because
Oh, I love that.
the glimmers of self are enough, right? So it's through my spiritual teachings, I have always taught through the metaphysical text, of Course in Miracles, which is the miracle is the shift in perception.
Mm.
And so the more you add up those moment to moment miracles, those moment to moment perceptual shifts, the more you trust the miracle and the more reliant you become on that miracle mindset. And that's the same here. The more we check in, the more access to glimmers of self we have. And the more access to self we have, the more we want more self. And it's just a beautiful ripple effect. And the more we trust that self is there.
Yeah. And what's coming up for me as you say that is the more of a corrective experience we give to our parts. Because you gave your part a different experience today. She got to say what she needed. You said, what do you need from me? How many of us as little kids, no one ever asked that. What do you need
Never,
right now?
never,
Yeah.
never.
So she got to express herself and then she got to say, oh, what is it that I need? Like,
She got everything that she never got as a child.
mm, yeah. What's
And the
happening for
fact
you,
that
love? Yeah, as you say that.
I feel so grateful to know that that's inside me.
Mhm.
And it's really allowed me to let my parents off the hook, to just be friends with my mother today and accept the relationship that we have,
Mhm.
because I know that I have access inside. And to know
Mhm.
that I'm still looking for that in other places, and I'm still, just to have the awareness, right? the healing doesn't mean that you're totally cool. The healing means that you're cool with every part.
I love that. I love that. And then the parts can be more cool with you as there's more glimpses of you and more glimpses of self, then the parts can become more cool with you and more trusting of you.
My parts are really trusting of me. My parts know now their safety inside. I feel like that's the blessing. That's one of the biggest blessings in this work.
Yeah, and I think that is from that choice to check in, that consistent choice to check
Consistent.
in.
And let's also in this community talk about the miracle. Look, like this is a very small taste for people. And I think that people reading this book are going to have such relief knowing that there is a process that works that they could access. And then the hope is that they repeat, and maybe go deeper and deeper and deeper. And then for the sake of this community, just speak with so much gratitude for the working with therapists that have the model in their system and and you know my two therapists now referred by Dick, and they're people you've worked with and that and their self has made my parts feel so safe to do deeper work.
Mhm.
And it's so radical.
Yeah, and what happens for me as you say that is that doesn't happen unless we as therapists or practitioners are doing our own work. Like there's not
Whole thing.
more of me to give, there's not more self of me to be able to give to my client or the person I'm working with if I've not done my own work.
It's the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, Gabby. What I would love to do is to have you lead us in a meditation. Something from the book. I know there's meditations in the book, and how would that feel for you to?
Yeah, no, I would be so thrilled to do this. And I'd love to just take everybody through a meditative journey of the 4-step check-in.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
And so, wherever you are right here, right now, if you're not driving, you can close your eyes. And if you're driving, just keep your eyes open, please. And we can just begin by noticing any feelings or thoughts or sensations that are not desirable in this moment. Any feelings of anxiety or tension or a belief that you're holding, or maybe you just had an extreme reaction to something recently in the last hour. Just notice anything that's up for you right now that you'd like to support. And with that desire, you can choose to check in with the part of you that's up. And take a deep breath, just placing your hand on your heart and your other hand on your belly, focusing your attention inside, offering that curiosity to this part of you inside, and just gently getting to know it a little bit. So just noticing first, where does it live in your body? And if you could identify any feelings or sensations in your body that hold this energy of this part of you, just give it a little breath right now. Just breathe in gently and exhale. Give it a little bit of experience, just breathing into the feeling for a moment and exhale. Offering a little bit more curiosity to this part of you. Ask it now if there's any thoughts or sensations or images that it wants to reveal to you. Just give it some space to show you a little bit more. You can even ask the part of you how long it's been around. And whatever else it might want you to know. Any images, thoughts, feelings, or sensations that want to come forward, just welcome it and listen for a moment. Give it a little bit more breath with your hand on your heart. Breathe into that space. And on the exhale, let it go. Welcoming the part with a little bit more curiosity now, just anything else that wants us to know about today. Now, with a little of our connection to this part, we can offer it some compassionate connection. Asking the part now, what do you need? Staying open and receptive. Just listen. Don't overthink anything. Just let whatever it needs to be revealed. Offering more breath now to the part, just noticing that it's asked for what it needed. That's a big deal. And just breathing into that space now and letting it go naturally. Giving yourself another opportunity to scan your system and just notice how you feel in this moment, if there's any C qualities present. Do you feel any sensations of calmness? Do you have a little bit more clarity? Do you feel a connection to the part? Is there any courage? Maybe some curiosity to know more? Maybe a little creativity? Maybe you notice some compassion for the part. And just checking for those C qualities. As you touch into any one of those C qualities, just take a deep breath and just feel into the feeling of that C quality, just giving it a little bit of momentum and a little bit of energy. And just let it go. Placing your hand on your heart again, just one more time. Just let that part know that you're here and that curiosity and calm and whatever C qualities have come through are present. And that you're grateful to have this connection. Just take one last deep breath in and let that go. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and be back with us.
I feel so much calm, so much more calm. And those cues, there's cues of self energy in me, and it's usually like a softness in my jaw, and I actually feel more expanded. It's another cue in my chest, and so I'm just really feeling the softness in my face, in my chest. It feels really good that I haven't felt all day today. So yeah, thank you. That was a gift.
Thank you. It was nice to watch you do it. Yeah.
Um, so Gabby, is there anything else you want to say to the IFS community or audience before we go?
I want to say thank you for welcoming in someone that might be perceived as a little bit of a disruptor to to the way things were and to the the courage of the practitioner to do the work that they do
Mm.
and the courage to make the bold commitment to doing the self-help work on your own. Because you said it earlier, the real work is not just embodying the model, the real work is living the model for yourself. And then the embodiment of the model becomes effortless. And I've seen that firsthand in you and other trainers and in my therapists and in Dick. And it's a real contagious energy. And I believe that you, everyone listening, are the ones that are going to, I say this with conviction, change the energy here on the planet. And I believe it. I believe this is the model. I believe this is the time. And I believe everybody listening are the ones who are going to do it.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you for this. Thank you for taking the time and having us be one of the 6 podcasts you do today.
And the only IFS podcast I'm doing so far, to be the the conduit for me to this community. Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you left a rating, a review, a like, comment, share with your family, your friends. That would mean so much to me. My book is available at your favorite independent bookstore or on Amazon. You can visit my website, tammysallenberger.com, or you can download a free Get to Know a Should part of you. You can follow me at IFS Tammy on Instagram and at The One Inside on Facebook and on YouTube. Jeff Schrum co-produces The One Inside, and I am forever grateful for Jeff. Also thankful for Jack Reardon for creating the music, and just thank you for listening. 6 seasons, over 1 million downloads. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you in this community. I'll see you next time.